Well, let's get started.
Yeah.
All right? And your name is, I know it's Aron,
Aron.
but it was spelled differently, so I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it right.
It's Aron. My grandmother calls me Aron.
Aron.
Or Aron.
Okay.
My mother calls me the same, and then everyone else calls me Aron.
Okay.
And I'll answer to anything except Sue.
Okay. Well, here we go. Welcome to the line. You're here. I'm Joshua Malott with Blackline, and this is the line by Blackline. And we're here in Atlanta, Georgia with, that is where we are, right? We're in Atlanta.
We're in Atlanta.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a whirlwind of a few days. We're here in Atlanta, Georgia with Aron.
Yeah.
Aron. There we go.
Aron.
You messed me up earlier because you're
Yeah.
telling me what your grandmother called you. Aron with STRACK Incorporated. So
Yes.
welcome. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you guys for having us.
I
Thank
really
you for being
appreciate
here.
it. So let's get started. We're here at Construction Ready Expo. Aron, let's hear a little bit about your story of where you come from and why you're here today.
I come from nowhere, Mississippi. Southwest Mississippi, close to Natchez. Grew up down there, moved here in 1993. Got into construction before the Olympics came through, and as the Olympics, worked for a land surveyor. Before that, my grandfather in the early 80s, he worked for John Deere. He was a mechanic for Stribling Cat in Mississippi.
Okay.
My dad ran rural water associations. And I just grew up looking up to those two guys
Yeah.
for everything.
Yeah.
My grandfather was born in 1922 in Wheeling, West Virginia. Dropped out of school in the 8th grade. Didn't see his dad after he was 12 years old. He actually begged for food from an African-American man that was a former slave.
Wow.
And the guy gave him some ham sandwiches and some milk, and he took them next door to give them to his mom and brother, and his dad beat him, took it from him. So he went back and he begged for food again.
Wow.
And the guy got a ham hock and a loaf of bread and all the milk they had in the house and a .22 pistol on the way out the door. And that was the last time my grandfather ever saw his dad, because the guy told him that the only thing he ever brought his family was hurt and pain, and if he ever saw him again, he'd kill him.
Wow.
And so my grandfather dropped out of school, went to work in the coal mines,
Wow.
joined the Army, met my grandmother on a Friday, got married on a Monday. They were married 51 years,
Wow.
had 2 sons, and I'm the product of that.
Wow.
And so that's what makes me.
Man.
But this industry and why I'm here now is because you need more.
Yeah.
I'm not a big guy.
Yeah.
I'm not intimidating,
Yeah.
but I have heart.
Yeah. That's pretty
We don't have
obvious.
that.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of quit in this room,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
And we want to make them better.
Yeah.
And we want better people.
Yeah.
So that's
Wow.
it.
Wow. So now you're here with STRACK, and you're here at this expo where thousands of kids are coming through. What is it that you're doing here with STRACK?
So,
And actually, let me just step back a little bit. If you're listening, tell us a little bit about STRACK and what you guys do before we go into that.
I'm here because of STRACK.
Yeah,
STRACK
let's
was
hear about
around
that.
way before me.
Because people that are listening might not know who they are or what they do.
Or what we do. So STRACK is a company, is 75 years old, 3rd generation owner. Was started by one man and one bulldozer in Atlanta, when that bulldozer and that man could be, it was at $5 an hour
Wow.
for one man and a bulldozer. And
Wow.
now we're at over 600.
Wow.
And so like I said, 3rd generation owner, and he started doing this with his dad when he was 12. So like all that knowledge and history, and we have a guy now that's been here 37 years, field guy and operator.
Wow.
Steve Carpenter, the Employee of the Year award is named the Steve Carpenter Award. He's been here over 40 years, and so that's the history. Like, we're about promoting our older generation and then teaching it and
Yeah.
giving that away. And the team that was already there when I got here, I got the best.
That's
Like,
awesome.
my people, like, I'm not STRACK. My people
Yeah.
are STRACK.
Yeah.
They,
Yeah.
they're way cooler than me.
Yeah.
So I get to go talk to the kids.
Well, I mean, you said that when we showed up, we had some technical issues or problems. We found solutions. And I said, hey, are you all right? This might take a little longer than we thought. And his exact words were, I have a great team. They got it. I can be here however long you need. So, I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And
Yeah,
so,
I'm just a pain in their butt that tells them to keep, hey, I like this. Let's move that. This will be cool. Hey, can somebody go get lunch, please?
yeah.
But yeah, no, they're great people.
So STRACK specializes in what, heavy civil?
Heavy
or?
civil, anything that has to do with before a building goes vertical, before
Okay.
concrete gets poured. So
Okay.
water, sewer, storm. We have a trenchless excavation division. We bore tunnels like the Rivian plant that just got built or is getting built now. We bored a tunnel under I-20. It was actually a micro tunnel. So
Help me. I'm an electrician by trade. What is a microtunnel? What does that mean?
it was a 86-inch bore,
Wow.
horizontal excavation.
Wow.
So we didn't dig a trench. They bored a tunnel and dug a pit and bored straight across.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
No, it's super cool. It's a lot of work.
I'd love to see that sometime. Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. They're a huge part of our company. We have a drilling and blasting component of our company, so we get to blow stuff up.
That's always fun to watch.
Yeah,
I've been on
yeah.
job sites and everybody just stops. You know, the horn blows.
Yeah.
And everybody's
Fire in
like,
the
what's
hole.
going on?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
That's awesome.
And then go. I've been a part of when the shot didn't go off totally, and you have to go dig through it and find.
What?
So, yeah. There's some
Wow.
wild. There's some stuff that. This is 20 years ago, but yeah.
We
And-
did a project years ago, and I had to sit. I'm not going to say where, but the company that I founded 20 years ago, when we started, we did a lot of government work, and because I had no reputation, and that was the only way, low bid wins the shop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we did a job, I'll say, for a military installation on the East Coast, and they had an explosion, I don't know, 50 or 60 years ago, maybe longer than that, and it was an ammo supply area. And
Okay.
so it spread all of the explosive devices. And so I had to go through, as an electrician, we use little machines. And so I had to do some, what do they call it? UXO training, unexploded ordnance
Okay.
training.
Yeah.
Because they had all these bombs spread all over. And so they're like, yeah, when you're digging, you might hit this, you might hit that. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
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 So
pay attention to this.
you were a part of a project where the whole blast didn't go off.
It's in a rock quarry. Yeah.
Wow. So when that happens, and I'm referencing the minimal training that I got on unexploded ordnance, that's pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Just there was a spotter outside it, and he would ask me to move really slowly, and if they saw a cord pull up or a cap, until we found it, I would just gently scratch the ground until we got to it.
I don't think that people realize that sometimes the work that we do is so life-threatening. Because that's dangerous, but yet it still actually has to be done. Micro has this statement that he makes safety third. It's like, well, first we have a job to do. Second, we need to make money. That's why we're here. But then we need to be safe.
Yeah, there's a lot of calculations going on in somebody's head, and when you see someone, especially in any of these trades, when you see someone who's legit, like a idiot savant,
Yeah.
they're out there.
You are the first person to use the word savant on this podcast. That's
Oh,
great.
okay, thank you. Yeah, but like, there's really, like Goodwill Hunting or like Beethoven. Like, how did he play? He just knew. He couldn't even hear it.
Yeah.
There's people out here in this. They're that good. They just don't even know it yet. And those are the people. and they make it look easy.
Yeah.
And someone's like, oh, well, anyone can do that. They're a dime a dozen. It's
Yeah.
like, no.
Yeah, no.
That guy has already done that computation in his head way before he got there, or girl.
Yeah.
They've already done that.
Yeah,
They know what they're doing.
Yeah. I've seen what you're talking about, whether it's in electrical or excavation, or even with our crew that does filming. I was thinking about, they're here today filming for the event and whatnot, and it's like I'm watching them do their work, and some of our guys are so good.
Yeah.
Like, they get one shot at this. Like, I was watching how stressed they are, and it's like they can't ask you to rebuild that so they can refilm it.
Nah.
It's like, and that's the same when they go out on the job. You get one shot.
Our jobs are bid to do one time.
Yeah.
If you do one thing, if you do something twice, it costs you twice as much.
Yeah.
Even if you get a change order and it wasn't your fault.
Well, and the client's going to give you more money if that happens, right?
Doesn't matter.
Well,
Still got another job to get to.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
You gotta. So now I gotta put my customer that's next back, and I gotta explain that to them. Like,
yeah.
Then I gotta mobilize. I mean, by the time you get between mobilization and personnel and equipment and maintenance, that change order is not gonna cover that.
No. You are absolutely right. I tell that to project managers all the time. I'm like, one guy showed me a picture once of this boat that was named change order, and I said, no, that's not how it works. That's not how. And honestly, that makes me. If that was real, what are those change orders? Are those real change orders? Because, like you said, when we do it, a change order, you're not making money. We want to bid the job right the first time, because that's the only way you really make money.
You want your customers. I would think you would want your customers to trust you enough.
Yes.
That when they bring you a bid and you go, I don't think this is going to work.
Yeah.
I've seen this not work. This is my experience, and they trust you. You have a partnership.
Yeah.
Those are what I would think.
One of the things that I think that I need to learn more of is just sometimes in my role in construction, that relationship with the customer, I struggle with communicating in the way that you just did, because I think that I need to do better at communicating that in a, hey, here it is, because I get frustrated because I see it and I'm like, well, why are you asking that question? And it's like, oh, I need to do better at communicating. Hey, I know that this is the budget, but we've done this. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
But I'm very like, communicate like this. I'm not as smooth as you.
I don't know that I'm that smooth. But that's the culture that I'm in. That's because of the environment and the company that I have.
Yeah.
I haven't always been this way.
Well, I want to talk about that, but before we do, I have a question that I want to ask you. And I gave you a little bit of a heads up here, but what is a piece of gear or a tool? You can pick either or that you can't, if you could only have one thing, that's the only thing that you can have, what would that be?
A belt.
A belt. A specific kind of belt or just
Leather
a belt? Okay.
Black or brown leather belt.
So you got to tell us why.
Well, my stomach's continuing to grow, and my rear end is shrinking. So I would walk around holding my pants, and suspenders aren't that fashionable.
Nice.
So
I like it. No one has ever said that to me before. I like that. That's, man. All right, I'm going to send you a belt. That's what I'm going to do. Oh my goodness. So you're talking about the company and how your culture you were talking about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, because you're saying you weren't always this way, and that affects the way that you're responding. Tell me more about that.
When I came up through this industry, I looked up to my grandfather and my dad. My dad ran rural water associations, Southwest Mississippi, and if your water service was interrupted or it was cut off or there was a leak, the number on your phone bill was his number, 601-639, and I can rattle the 4 off, but that number's still in service because his wife still has that number. But so that was my life. Yeah. My dad, I can't tell you how many times I've answered the phone. Where's Bobby at? When's the water getting cut off? What's Bobby doing? My dad lived his life in service to other people just so they could drink water.
Wow.
And I had some real hard feelings about it because I felt like that took away from me.
Yeah.
That was up to me to unpack that.
Yeah.
And so as I came through life, I guess I had a grudge against people.
Yeah.
And I started getting into this industry, and I hated high school. I didn't understand why I had to have that. And,
Yeah.
you know, my dad, for all that he did, he was in Vietnam, and my best friend and I, like my best friend's dad was a Marine Corps sniper. My dad was in the Army, and my dad could drink a fifth of vodka and just sit here like we are, and you would never know.
Wow.
He could drink 2 fists, and I would call those Vietnam nights.
Wow.
And I would live Vietnam with him about 3 times a week my whole life. But he was in service to people.
Right.
He kept the water on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the equivalent of keeping the lights on.
It is.
They can still wipe their rear end
Yeah.
and clean their clothes because
Yeah.
of my daddy.
Yeah.
And so as I came up through this industry, I wasn't very well educated. I wasn't that articulate. I didn't know. I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so I've had to grow up.
Yeah.
45 years has taught me that life isn't about humbling other people. You got to become humble.
Man.
So that's why I'm here, and that's, I'm just lucky. I'm not good, I'm lucky.
Aaron, I had no idea that we were going to go this deep. 'Cause, I mean, that's the truth of it. I mean, that's the heart that you're speaking from, and you're having an honest conversation with me.
Yeah.
And you don't know me. We met the other day, and we've
Yeah.
been talking for a few minutes here, but I think that we both appreciate and desire authentic and real conversation, because there's not enough time on this planet for us to screw around and not go after that. And it's like, and people need to hear this stuff.
I'm getting less every second.
Yeah.
And
Well, and that really says something to your company, because you talk about those things that you've had to unpack. And I think a lot of times we don't, especially in the trades, we don't want to talk about that or look at that. It's like, I was having a conversation with my son here a week or two ago, and we had just watched a movie together, and it was about King Arthur. I think it's a Guy Ritchie movie called.
Yeah.
I forget exactly what it's called.
Got
but
Charlie Hunnam.
yeah, great movie. And in the movie, there's this dark and ominous thing that happens in his past, and they keep telling him that he has to look at it, and he has to look at it, and this vision of his past, and it's magical and whatnot, the sword and lake, all that stuff. But I remember there's this scene where the mage from Merlin says that he has to look at it and look the whole way through, and not look away. Look at that hurt that was in his life and not look away. And that's what it was. It was a hurt that was in his life. And she's like, you have to not look away. And he looked at her, and I was sharing this story with my son because we were talking about an issue that he needed to look at. And she said to him in the movie, and I mean, it's a movie, but she said, well, that's the difference between men and kings. Kings don't look away.
Yeah.
And it's like, if we're going to be leaders and be the, and kings and queens for men and women, but if we're going to do that, and this is what I was saying to my son, listen, when you have a mistake, the natural thing, something goes wrong in your life, whether someone wounded you or you did something, if you're not going to look at it and deal with it and look at it the whole way through, then it will never be dealt with. You will never you'll never be a king.
It'll always be there.
It'll always be, and it'll have power over you.
Yeah, that's one thing, again, like back to STRACK, like we teach personalities, right? And we do disc assessments. I don't know if you're familiar with those.
I
we
am.
do some others. I like Jordan Peterson. I'm all about some Jordan Peterson, but we do disc, and we go over the class, and people read it, and it's like, do you see that in yourself? And 90% of the time, people are aware, but until they see it, they don't realize it.
Yeah.
And so, well, all right, they saw it and they realized it. Now, what do you do with it?
Yeah.
And it's not so much about me realizing myself. It's me realizing what your personality is, and how do we do that? And then so, how do we take a mercenary and create a knight?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah.
Because that dude obviously is well enough to support himself.
Yeah.
How can he get to a point where he has a higher sense of purpose?
Yeah.
And understands that his actions your actions today are going to affect somebody down the line from you, just like a ripple in a pond.
Absolutely.
And that's where we're focusing a lot of our attention. I mean, we're using simulators. We're having classes. We're going through new hire training. This company gives away so much.
Yeah.
And my time is the most important thing that I'll ever give anybody. I don't care how much money I give you.
Yeah.
Realizing that at the end of the day, the only thing we trade on is our time.
Yeah.
And our names.
That's the truth.
And that is it.
Yeah.
And so when my people give you time, they're giving you the most valuable thing they have.
Yeah.
We even go beyond that where we have our own chaplain service. We have our own in-house chaplain, and we have a chaplain service. And when anybody in the company can call and speak to those people. If they have a family member on the other side of the country that's in the hospital, marketplace chaplains, they'll send someone that's in that region or in that area and go sit with them and pray.
Wow.
And that's a different level.
It is.
Like I know that all these are great companies. I know what mine does.
Well, and that's just it. You know what yours does, and that's part of the purpose of having this conversation. If we don't talk about this stuff, then people don't know it.
There's a lot of good ideas.
Yeah, there is a lot of good ideas, and it's not all that complicated. We just need to have the conversation.
Just got to start.
We just got to start. You talk about time and that and giving that time away. I would actually push back a little bit and just say, what you're doing is you're investing in people.
Yeah.
You're making a conscious choice. You're not just giving it away like you're throwing it out the door, but you're making a conscious choice, and your company is making that. And I had a builder once tell me, my wife and I, a few years ago, we built our first house, and it was he was there, and he was a tradesman, a carpenter, and a builder, small company, and he made a comment to me, and he'd come and something was going to cost more, and it was really eye-opening to me. He said, well, here's this change order. He was really struggling with it. And I said, hey, man, that's what it costs. That's what it costs. Then I have to decide, do I want that or do I not want that? And I said, why is this weighing on you so much? And he said to me, he goes, well, because you're using your money that you've spent most of your life earning to build this thing.
Yeah.
And he said, I believe that money is your time, and that time is your life. So he said, we spend our lives to do things. And I was like, whoa.
Do you live to work or do you work to live?
Exactly.
And I don't believe in either one of those. I just want to live.
Yeah.
And if you enjoy what you're doing, you're not really doing work.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's another lesson from my grandfather.
Yeah.
Like, he went to World War II. My dad got born on the kitchen table. He got shot under his left nostril right after they got into Germany. A bullet went through 2 stories, hit him under his left nostril and came out behind his left ear. And I still have the letter from the Army. It was a telegraph.
Wow.
That was listed him as MIA.
Wow.
And my dad was born, not knowing if he's alive or dead.
Wow.
We didn't have cell phones. They didn't have cell phones.
Yeah.
They had newspapers and like spotty information. And he showed up.
Very different time.
Yeah, showed up on the doorstep 6 months later.
Wow.
And he went and got his GED, went to a technical school, ended up getting a mechanical engineering degree, taught at University of Southern Mississippi, worked for Oldsmobile for 30 years.
Wow.
Like, you can't put that in a book or a movie.
Yeah.
That is life.
Yeah. Yeah. That is life.
And he was one of the most poor people I've ever known. It was the happiest.
Yeah.
And so when I said it, like, I really miss him now.
Yeah.
But when I'm thinking about that, what the heck am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I chasing?
There it is. What are we chasing?
What are you here for?
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to teach that. I really want to teach that.
Yeah.
I wish I could just give it away.
Yeah. Well, and you are teaching it. You guys are here. You have this trailer, and your whole team wants that. That's one thing I've talked about with a lot of people here is culture, and we don't realize as business owners, when we invest in culture of our people, like you talk about discs and all those things, all of that stuff that your company is doing, that takes money. And they've made a choice to do that, but here's the deal. This is a secret. It's smart business, because here's why. When you invest in culture and you're building in people, what that does is it attracts that culture of person. It attracts people, and if they don't have that, they want that, and they'll come to your company and they'll put the time in to learn it. Because everybody down there at your booth, they all are of that culture.
They put out.
They do.
Yeah.
They're all of that culture, and it's like that saves you time in the hiring process, and then you also don't have people leave for $1 more here or 50 cents there.
We're getting better at that.
Yeah.
It's one of our values.
Yeah.
Better every day. We're always learning.
Yeah.
We're mindful in what we do. We're mindful in everything. And really the humble heart, open hands, like you got to be humble to a point. But at some point you got to know that you got to use your hands.
Yeah.
And then it's time to do the work, and then, everyone matters.
Yeah.
And that's the moment I heard those values. I didn't have to recite them, repeat them, write them down. The moment I heard them, I've known them ever since, and I sing them. I say them everywhere I go. And, and just like that trailer, the values are one line each, all the way down that wall. And then when you go inside, then it explains why we're better every day and why we're mindful in everything. And it explains all that out. So there's more inside than what you see on the outside.
Yeah. I like that statement that you make, and even the way that trailer's designed, because that's true to us. There's more inside you and inside me. And if you're listening, there's more inside you than what is on the outside. Yeah. Sometimes there's more inside us than we even see.
There is, but with that being said, the people that have been here and that have made this company, they bust their tail. They work.
Yeah.
And if you want to be a part of that family, you got to work too.
Yeah.
And it's not always going to be easy. You're not going to get told what you want to hear. Sometimes it's going to come across as brash or rough or abrasive or just inopportune timing.
Yeah.
But it's honesty.
Yeah.
And that's life. Again, like Daddy used to tell me, he goes, son, you don't want to hear this, but you need to. I'm going to tell it to you anyway. And he'd lay it out and make me mad and hurt my feelings. But it was the truth, and I needed to hear it. And I didn't realize it till 10 years later, maybe. In some cases, I'm still realizing stuff that I've heard.
Yeah.
So that, that's who they are.
Yeah.
That is the company down there.
I think that's one of the reasons that we connect so well is at Blackline. Our values, we don't have as many as you. We only have 3, but honesty is number 1. Yep. Having those honest conversations, and then, we want to be excellent, which I always like to define it like this. I believe perfectionism is a vice, and excellence is what we want to strive for, not perfection. If we're striving for perfection, there's something wrong, because it's not attainable.
You never.
Yeah.
That is an unattainable goal.
And it destroys people. It really does.
It destroys everything.
It destroys everything.
I mean, our government's doing that on their own right now.
Yeah.
And so that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, we don't want to get banned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and our third value then is grit. Yeah. And that's what you're talking about. Listen, if you want to be in the trades, and I have had a great life in the trades, I think I have a sense of purpose. I enjoy what I do. I love what I do, but it takes grit. There are mornings that I get up and I do not want to do what it is that I do. But grit is the courage to face it. It is the courage to be able to look at it and say, all right, I'm going after this. I'm going to do it. That's what it is.
Yeah. You ever listen to David Goggins?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
like that guy.
Yeah. He's on the bucket list. I want to shake his hand.
You want to shake his hand?
Oh, yeah. He's on the bucket list.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe they'll get him in Dirt World this year.
Never happened.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. He's got some. His language is very colorful.
His language is very colorful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but his message at the core.
That guy. I can't remember it. Joe Rogan or somebody. The part of his brain that really defines grit and
do this, wanting to do this. At some point, you need to get up and you need to do it.
Go do it.
So I recently started, I don't want to say this publicly, but I will. I recently started probably about 3 weeks ago now doing cold plunges.
Okay.
And I mean, so I'm from the north. And so I think early February I was doing them. We have them on our back deck. And there was a good 3/4 of an inch of ice.
Break through it.
Had to break through it. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, and it was about being disciplined. It's all up here.
Yeah.
It's all up here in your head. And it's really, really
Everything we
stinking cold.
do is 90% mental.
It is. And I've learned that because, and through the cold plunges, and I was thinking, what Goggins says where he's like, I can't do it for you. Nobody else can get in that ice bath for me.
No.
And I do it for 5 minutes every day, unless I'm traveling. And I got in there and I did it and I got out and I realized as the days went on, it was all up here and I just needed to do it. Nobody else was going to do it for me. And it's the same even here with the kids that are looking at things, or if you're in a job, nobody else is going to do it for you. You have to be disciplined to do it, and it has to be worth it. And I would say even as Goggins, I don't think that there's anything that isn't attainable. As long as you're disciplined and you have the drive, you can go after it.
You can go a lot of places.
Yeah.
I'm living proof. And there's plenty of other people down there in my booth and all the way down there in other booths.
Yeah.
That somebody at some point told them they would never do something.
Yeah.
And they've done it.
We'll talk about that a little bit because, the line and Blackline, we exist to lift the view of the skilled trades. That's what our vision is. That's what we want to be about. And you and I were having a conversation the other day, and you were talking about, well, I hope this is okay. I'm gonna say this on air. You were talking about someone told you once that you would never be anything but a ditch digger.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. What did you were telling me about that? Tell those that are listening a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
So I'd gotten in a fight at school with a guy, and we were friends.
Yeah.
The guy was good at sports. I wasn't. The guy was popular. I wasn't. Whatever. That's
you and
fine.
I lived a very similar life in that regard.
And look, like I told you starting this, I have a face made for radio. Like, in fact, I'm sitting here and somebody wants to listen to me, then God bless them. But got in a fight in class, go to the principal's office, and got told some things that I didn't want to hear. One of the things he told me was that I would be a ditch digger or a car washer. And one day, one of my buddies would tip me $5 and drive off in his BMW because I cleaned his windows and dried his car off, and I'd never see him again. Turns out I am a ditch digger.
Look at that.
But it also turns out that I got 600 people behind me plus
Come
with
on.
me.
Yeah.
And their families and all these people here. I get to speak to corporations and really try to change for the better. I called them up and said, hey, just want to let you know what you created.
Yeah.
But in my creation,
Yeah.
were there any other means?
Yeah.
And I just asked it, and he was like apologizing to me, and I was like, no, man, like,
Yeah.
you did.
Yeah.
But we got to be mindful in what we're doing, and maybe that message could have been delivered a little better or worse,
Yeah.
and it could have crushed me. It could have made me, like, who knows?
Right.
I don't know what life holds for anyone else in this room, including myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But man, how many are giving up every day right now?
Yeah.
Really, with fentanyl.
Yeah.
How many are giving up? And so that I don't know. I'll give you everything.
Well, I think that's something that, we were talking about earlier, and the reason I bring it up is I believe that people have value. And I actually believe that your value doesn't come from your title, your trade, anything other than you have value as a person because of who you are, not because of what you do.
Yeah.
And it's like, so whatever you do, if you do it with what you were made with and how you were created to do that work, and you push through it, that's the value piece, is pushing through it. The value piece isn't in, well, I'm a CEO of a company. No. And honestly, when you grow a company and you build a company, and this I can say from experience, And whether you're the founder like me or you're someone who's come up in the company, and I think you'll agree with me when I say this, you find out that really, truly, your title and all that stuff has no value. The value is the people that you do it with. The value is how you do the work. The value is does your work come from here? Does it come from your heart? Is that where it comes from? Because if it comes from your heart, then that's a value that can be translated into any job.
How much pride do you have in the product you're delivering?
Yeah, in this and in the product that we're delivering, like, I mean, that's the biggest thing that I've learned is to be proud of the work that I'm doing, and the only way to be proud is to do it as well as I possibly can.
Leave nothing to chance.
Yeah.
When we, we've got excavations 20, 25 foot deep, or even like we had a tunnel in Gwinnett County just wrapped up months ago, but it's over 700 foot, 70 feet deep through solid granite under a rail yard. And once it's in, it's supposed to carry that community for the next 30 years.
Wow.
So should we half-ass that?
Right.
You can edit that out, sorry. But
no, I don't mind.
But
real and honest.
Yeah, but man, we can't leave anything to chance. So we got to do as good of a job as we can. And so that means we put our best on it.
Yeah.
And we give them the tools they need and when they need it and the resources, and then they call me and, hey, we need people, and that's where I come in. And, I don't get it right the first time, so do it again. And they got to have patience in me to know that I'm going to keep trying and I'm going to get better.
Yeah.
So that's leaving nothing to chance.
Well, and I mean, you even touched on it there, patience.
Yeah.
We can't hurry things along. We got to be patient and let it go through the process.
Sometimes it's painfully.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Sometimes
Well, I mean, you even talked about that earlier. We were talking about podcasts and this interesting world that we live in, where we're podcasting here, and we're just tradesmen.
Yeah.
Like I am just the same guy that was wiring up, buildings before, and I'm talking about what I did. You're the same guy that was in the ditch, and we're talking about what we did. And I was asking you, I was like, why do you think that people listen to a podcast? And we commented on long-form conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, let's talk about it. Share your reasoning with that, because I think you can say it a little bit more eloquently than I can.
Well, if you think that I'm not telling you something true, or if it's, BS, you can ask me to expound on it, or I can ask you to expound on it. Like, what did you mean when you were saying that?
Yeah.
Maybe the tone threw you off, but if we do it through text, or if you do it on a 5-minute news clip, or you do something, like, it can be spun any way it wants.
Yeah.
And, this podcast is really about the person, the individual. Yeah. It's about you, and how do I get to know you, and you're going to be vulnerable to me and tell me some things, and now people know you better.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm here for my team, so I'm going to try to promote them as much as I can, because they matter, not me. Not in that regard. And so that's why I like podcasts. It's like we can get through that. Yeah. I can learn from what I've done before and how I go forward, and it's a progression. It's an evolution.
Yeah.
And so evolution, like I listen to Jocko a lot. I've read his books. I've been to a muster, like all these things, but they talk about that a lot, and that they're training.
Yeah.
And it's get through the next second, which gets you through the next minute, which gets you through the next hour. Just get through the evolution, get to the next evolution.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Yeah.
And so this is the third podcast I've been on.
Come on.
The first one, probably, I get better at delivering my message, so I have to practice that.
Dude, I understand that more than you might know. Like, I listen to the podcasts, and like my first podcast, I'm trying to get better, but the first one I'm like, oh my goodness, can we please take that down?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So, I have an idea for one, and my idea is cooking bacon naked with Aron. But there will be clothes,
Okay.
maybe lighting. But the real thing is like having a conversation,
Yeah.
talking about it. Like
Yeah.
if you're gonna cook bacon, period, you might get some hot grease on you. And if you're naked, you're gonna dance.
Come on.
You're gonna be jumping. And so, but in the end, what it delivers to you is a tasty strip of bacon,
Yeah.
and it's satisfying.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's a catchy way to get somebody
good.
and the real thing for me is like, and I talked about the respect that I had for my grandfather and that generation and the generations behind him. I want to talk to those people.
Yeah.
I want to know tell me what it was like to live through segregation, that you were there. Those people
Yeah.
are going away. I
Yeah.
want to know, and I want to learn from it.
Yeah.
And then, like, there's so many things to share
Yeah.
that and the real simple one that and the people I've talked to about it is the way I approach them is I'm like, look, have your kids ever heard the story of your life in your own words in one shot?
Yeah.
And they're like, no. I'm like, how do you think they'd feel when you're gone?
This is good stuff, man.
And they're like, I would love for them to have it.
Yeah.
And so in the end, I'm satisfying that one individual's
Yeah.
purpose, right?
Yeah.
Because they've lived their whole life for their family.
Yeah.
That's it. If
Yeah.
other people want to hear it,
Yeah.
then God bless them. I love it.
Yeah.
But again, it's one person that I can satisfy their need or their want for their purpose of their life to their
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
How many have that?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think they would. I would love it
Yeah.
if I could go back and get that.
Well, I think that even comes to even one of the core values. What was it? STRACK's core value? Better
Better every day.
every day. And it's like, so if you can listen through the hammering and the nailing in the background,
Yeah.
we're trying to be better every day. And the long form conversation and all of that, the point is sharing that knowledge of things that we've learned and talking about it, because that's how people get improvement and to be better tomorrow than you are today. The
Yeah.
only way to do that is to talk about things, to look at the things that you don't want to look at, and to continue to move forward together.
You got to look yourself in the mirror, challenge yourself
Yeah.
to do something maybe you've never done without knowing how the outcome is going to be. But if you keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result, that's
Yeah.
the definition of insanity.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, that's what this is.
Yeah. Well, so STRACK is here, and you guys are investing in this way. You have your training trailer that you drive everywhere, and if you're listening, I don't know how far he'll go, but I do know if you want him out there, he's going to come to wherever you are. So,
Yeah, I've been catching, if someone looks like a teacher,
yeah,
I grab her.
yeah,
Like, I just saw one of my hats go walking by, so I'm like, nice hat, or whatever.
Yeah.
Some way for me to, something like my business card, the original
Yeah.
business cards, it was leadership, equipment, and technology training. So when I
Yeah.
go to introduce myself and I say, well, elite, I'm elite,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
elite, it always sounds like elite.
Yeah.
So then I can expound on that and start explaining what that is and why it is.
and you're a ditch digger.
I'm just a ditch digger, man.
Come on.
I'm just then that, again, like that with cooking bacon naked, like a gentleman that I met from Massachusetts, Maryland, I'm sorry. He moved to Georgia from Maryland, but a friend of mine that knows him calls me over, and so then I meet this guy, and they couldn't get his water meter to turn on. Well, Blake knows me because of my stories about my dad, and so I go over there and turn the water valve on. The guy looks at me and goes, well, what do I owe you? And I was like, excuse me? He's like, what do I owe you? And
Yeah.
I'm like, welcome to the South.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I don't know, handshake, name, like,
yeah,
I helped you out. Like,
yeah,
you at least deserve that.
yeah.
Like, I don't.
Well,
Care.
even if you don't deserve it, because I don't deserve things, but it's in you to invest that and do that in other
Yeah,
people.
like-
And we don't do you shouldn't do things because you expect something. You do them because you should.
I just do it because I knew it was the right thing.
Exactly. I understand completely. I've been on service calls to a person's house, and they're like, "We lost our power," and I go downstairs and I look at their panel, and it's like, flip the breaker back on.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, in some ways, you can't. You just don't feel like you can do that.
They're
You
quite
can
great
charge
at
it
reading a
for that.
spreadsheet.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
Yeah.
So when we were talking earlier, I said, I like to ask you. I talked about mistakes in construction, and I told you that I want to ask you about a mistake that you have made that you've learned from, because I believe in construction, in the trades, in life, in our society, we don't talk about the mistakes that we make. And for me, all of the things that I've ever learned, I've learned through mistakes and improving and moving past them. And so when we were talking, I said, I want to ask you this question. And I said, you can pass. And he responded to me, and he's like, yeah, that's nice that you say that, but I can't. Which really tells me something about the core of who you are. And this ties into the long-form communication.
Yeah.
You believe what you believe, and I know that now. And it's like, you can't not answer it. And listen, I understand, because I wouldn't do some of the things that I do, except I don't feel like I have a choice.
No, there's.
Yeah, because it's what we have to do.
Who else is going to do it?
That's just it.
Like, I don't know how long I got here, but I just know I want to give all I got.
Yeah, I agree. I
So-
agree 100%. So on that note, let's talk about something that you screwed up.
Oh, a lesson that I learned.
Yeah.
So, when I was 20, I was learning how to run a machine called a scraper, a
Okay.
pan,
Yeah.
631D, open cab, no doors or windows
In the South.
in the south.
That's warm.
The way I learned how to run that machine is I stood on the front bumper and I held on to the ROPS. And this machine will do like 35 miles an hour. It weighs 200,000 pounds loaded. I'm holding on to the metal bar riding around, and superintendent yelling over the engine, explaining things to me. And one of the things he said was, make sure you put your seatbelt on. Yeah, okay. I'm 20. I know what I'm doing, right? So get on the machine, get to work. Very first load, we're going across a small side of the hill, and there was large wash ruts in it.
Yeah.
So the tires on those things are over 6 foot tall.
Jeez.
And did I listen? No.
Yeah.
Well, so as the cab articulates and it rocks down, it rocks so hard, and I didn't realize, I'm still learning, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm a know-it-all kid. It tips down and spits me out of the cab of the scraper. And so when I hit the ground, like I was digging back in like a cat claws. Like I hit the ground and basically like bounced back in the machine before the tire rolled through the rut, because I was being pushed by the bulldozer getting loaded. And when I literally hit the ground and bounced back into it before it got into it.
That's like a miracle.
You know what the lesson is?
Yeah.
Wear your seatbelt. And so that was perfect timing with whatever
Yeah.
that was.
That was.
That was-
We actually scheduled that. We had that worked out.
I don't know how you did it,
Yeah,
but
well,
that was
we'll never tell you.
legit. Yeah. But no,
Yeah.
wear your seatbelt. It's there for a reason.
Yeah.
I've never heard anyone in a race car get out of a car that wrecks and complain that the seatbelts cost too much money.
Yeah.
They're there for a reason.
Yeah.
Safety's there for a reason.
So what is, we're surrounded by all of this. It's really funny that your story comes from when you were 20. And man, I knew everything when I was 22, and I was really stupid.
I have a 20-year-old son. So.
It's funny, 20 is that age where you just, like, when you said, yeah, I'm 20, I know what I'm doing. I've had that exact thought in my 20s. And I don't have as a miraculous story as you have, but that's because we all live different lives.
Don't
But-
worry, there was plenty
yeah.
more failures
Yeah.
before and after that.
But I mean, that's just it. When I hear you say that, it's like we need to listen to this other generation. We need to listen, because they're not just saying stuff to say it, there's purpose in it.
There's purpose.
So what would your motivation be to, you're going around and this is in your heart, so I think this is important to ask you. What would your motivation be to young people or someone who's in high school that, is trying to figure out what they're supposed to do? What's your encouragement or your motivation to them?
My motivation is to talk to as many people as you can and don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask as many as you can. Be a pest, because nobody's going to make you better but you.
Yeah.
I can't make you better.
Yeah.
And so if you want me to give you what I got, be present.
Yeah.
And be on time. And have, every now and then being respectful is great, especially if you know that I have something that you can gain from.
Come on.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do is be present, show up on time, have a good attitude, and we'll teach you.
Yeah.
Like, I can't teach you everything you need to know, but I can teach you everything I know.
Yeah.
And that's all anyone can offer. If you're genuine, that's what you offer.
Yeah.
We give away a lot. This company gives away so much. Show up.
Show up. Yeah.
That's all it takes.
So just a shout out to STRACK for that and the investment that they've made in you. I want a job as an excavator. I want a job with STRACK. How do I go about that?
Take a business card or talk to anyone that works here. Scan the QR code. You can go to our social media. We're on, I think it's Instagram, Google, Facebook. We're on all social medias. Look us up. My email directly, aronn@strackinc.com.
This is going out on the internet, man.
Once it hits the internet, it never comes off. That's my job.
Yeah.
And so maybe run an excavator isn't what you're cut out for. Maybe you need boring crew. Maybe you're a welder. Maybe maybe you come in and you start out as an excavator operator, but really your niche is like in the shop or maintenance on equipment, or I don't know, like.
Yeah, and you won't know until you try.
Until you show up and try, you'll never fail if you never try.
Yeah.
That's the one way to guarantee success.
Yeah.
But I'm not that.
Yeah.
And the people that are down there, they're not that either.
Yeah.
So we need more of us.
Aron, I so appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation. This is going to sound weird, but the example that I would use to describe you is you're like a Tootsie Pop. Like, the deal is, on the outside, man, I'm like, I did not think that this over the past hour as we've been talking, I feel like I know who you are. And you've given me that opportunity and that window into who you are, which, one, I greatly appreciate.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I'm special in that regard. I think that's how you are with everyone.
No.
And so I appreciate that. I think that's something, I just want to commend you on. That's the real deal. And so I thank you for, sitting down with me, having that conversation. Did not know what was in the center when we started this.
I got one more story for you.
Oh, please do. Please do.
We have some simulators down.
Yeah.
And one of the things that makes STRACK so great is we have chaplains, like I talked about.
Yeah.
Gentleman Courtney Dillard, he's around today. He came by and visited us. But I was going to Sweden to visit 10 Star and get to know them and their company. That's how great my company is. They sent me
awesome.
to like start figuring some of that out and vetting it. And so I needed a passport. Never left the country. I've never went through that process, and so I was trying to like call and get an appointment, go downtown and get it. I couldn't get an appointment, and Courtney works with a lot of like schools and organizations because of his role as a chaplain. And I called him up. I'm like, look, man, do you know anybody? Because I was calling senators, Raphael Warnock, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I didn't care which side of the aisle they stood on. I just needed help, right? And so I called Courtney, and I'm like, man, do you know anybody? And we talked through it. And at the end, he says, Aaron, could I pray for you? Could we pray?
Come on.
And we did. And it was it. 24 hours later, I got my passport.
Aaron, come on.
That's a real story.
Yeah.
I got to go to Sweden. You saw what I have in our booth, or what we have in our booth. That's my team that built that.
Yeah.
I had to put that in, and I had to ask.
Yeah.
I got it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
That's how cool this place is.
Yeah.
So
That is, I mean, I think that's what it's about. And it's about us caring for people. And I so appreciate your openness and honestness about your faith. I also, like, my faith is why I do this.
yeah.
You know, and I could tell you countless stories about situations like that where we prayed about something and it was taken care of. And
One way or another.
One way or another. Not always the way that I like or the way I wanted.
You can at least be at peace with the outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's harder to forgive yourself than it is anyone else.
Yeah,
That's one of those things.
yeah. What a great conversation, Aaron. I so appreciate you coming on here, having this conversation with me. You know, I always, at the end, I'm encouraging people to step up to the line. I want you, if you're, you know, a tradesperson who is part of what we call the silver tsunami that is leaving the industry, step up to the line and be part of mentoring the next generation, sharing your knowledge. Do what Aron is doing. Take the time to invest a part of your life in other people. The interesting thing that he's shown us here today is it feels good to invest in other people. It's something that satisfies, and it scratches an itch that you might not even know is there. But you take the time to do that, it not only is going to affect change in our world, in our cities, in our businesses, in our industries, it's going to affect change in you. And that's a good thing. So thank you for having this conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry
really
I went so
appreciate it.
deep.
Oh, no. I love that. Listen, I mean, whether you guys want that or not, that's the conversations that I want to have, you know, and the deep, real, I like to say to people, this is an authentic and real conversation that we're going to have. We don't edit anything. So
Yeah,
there
man.
it is.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
all right, man.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you very much.
Yes, sir.
All right.
See you. Thanks, man.
Hey, what did I ask you? Perfect timing.